What's up, everyone? Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Um, this will be started in just a minute. Okay, there we go. At the office today, interviewing some candidates for our sales team. This is fun. You get to see just how, there's a lot you see, but I noticed especially a epidemic of our times is that people agree to do something and they don't even follow through. It's wild. People don't even honor their own word. They say, hey, I'm going to be there at 10 a.m. and a couple of them don't even show up. No message, nothing. It's like their words literally mean nothing. And I can guarantee you that those people are broke right now. It's why they're looking for a job on our sales team. And when you don't follow through on something and make an agreement and live that agreement, you stay stuck and you stay in a holding pattern. So at least acknowledge if you're going to miss the meeting, okay? But what I really want to talk about today is a way of looking at life that's going to help make a lot of things make more sense. It's going to help you reframe a lot of things like struggle, difficulty, randomness, uncertainty, chaos, all of that. It's going to help you reframe that so you can actually look forward to when that happens. But I'll get into some nuances of it because sometimes if you're not prepared and you aren't built, if you haven't built yourself up in the right way, chaos, uncertainty, all that is going to tear you apart. So there's a lot I'm going to cover in this, but it's all around this word, anti-fragile. So think about it in this way. Think of like you have a chopstick, right? You hit it, it snaps. That's something that's fragile. Then you have something that's robust. Let's say a stapler on your desk, right? You throw it against a brick wall, maybe it dents a little bit, but it still holds its form. And we tend to think, well, the opposite of fragile would be robust, right? Like you get a package in the mail that says fragile, like don't kick. Okay, so don't kick it, right? So the opposite, you would think, the opposite of something that's fragile is robust. It's not true at all. Consider this. Anti-fragility is a force that's all around you. You've just been blind to it. You haven't even been able to see it, but it's in front of you. It's in evolution within nature, it's in culture, it's in politics, it's within business, it's your physical body itself is anti-fragile. How does this apply in your daily life? Well, are you the kind of person that avoids pushing yourself out of your comfort zone? Or do you get stressed out when there's a lot of uncertainty? Maybe it's not just in business or in work, but if you have a spouse, or if you have certain habits about yourself that you're working to change. Does it stress you out when something comes in and it throws you off your game plan? Or does it piss you off when you say you're going to do something and then you don't follow through and do it and you don't actually move yourself to change, right? With this perspective, you're going to be able to understand why that's happening and how you can actually start to work through it and then look forward to that chaos and that uncertainty. So life itself is anti-fragile. I don't know if you know much about MMA. For example, there's a type of martial art called Muay Thai. And people will go around kicking their shins. They will kick trees. It will literally break their shin. But what happens? The bone grows back stronger. And you do that enough, now that's why these Muay Thai people could kill you with one kick to your head. Because their shin is so strong because the body is anti-fragile. It actually gains power and it gains resilience, effectiveness at whatever it is that you want to have happen, such as delivering blunt force through your shin bone. That's an example. Another example would be coral reefs. They've done this where they throw dynamite into the coral reef and it blows up. And you think, oh, that coral reef's pretty fragile. Well, actually what happens, as long as the coral reef is healthy, it will grow back even more robust and even more strong because it's anti-fragile. So it gets an initial shock. It would appear as a setback, like what happens in our lives all the time. Yet, the starting point of nature is to expand and grow stronger and expand even more. So that's why you'll see this phenomena within nature. You can also see this though in all different aspects of life, such as in business, specifically startups. I'm not talking about like Kodak. If you know the story of Kodak, they were a massive, massive $1 billion company, global, all that. They got completely disrupted by Instagram when I think they only had 13 employees. Instagram disrupted the whole Kodak, the whole uh, camera industry, just because of Instagram's basically free platform that they learned how to monetize. And then Instagram went on to get acquired for $1 billion by Facebook. And now all of y'all have Instagram on your phone. But Instagram in that setting was way more anti-fragile because they had a smaller team. They were doing everything digitally. They weren't this giant. It's like a giant ship. Imagine trying to flip direction of a giant ship. Okay, but that's what you are in your life with all your patterns, all the understandings that you have, all your screwed up. It's like a hard drive of your computer that's within your body. It has a bunch of viruses on it, corrupted files, way too much stuff on the desktop, way too many folders. You haven't run a good computer clean in a long time. And you're trying to get this, to get new directions to change. And like, oh, I'm going to start losing weight, or I'm going to increase my income. You are going to move so slow, you're not even going to notice it. And you'll probably just give up. And your life will just continue going in this direction that's not getting you what you want. Compared to, think of it like a young kid who's just starting to learn about the world. And they didn't get programmed with all this stuff and, live in fear and things like that. That kid is anti-fragile. They wake up, they're just excited to be alive. What are they going to do today? Maybe they'll go play outside. Maybe they'll go like play with toys. Maybe they'll build a puzzle. Maybe they'll learn how to make food. Learn some new skill. Right? That is the nimbleness and adaptability and agility that is life. I mean, kids are the purest form and expression of life. And then around age 7, well, it's even earlier nowadays, they develop a mind. Think about this. Kids don't think. Kids don't second guess themselves, and they'll just wear some costume or whatever. They're just having fun. I mean, yes, there are kids that go through abuse, whether it be physical abuse, emotional abuse, any of that, and that will take away that kid's innocence. And then they'll have to think, oh, I want to express myself and yell, but last time I did that, someone hit me or someone yelled at me. So they have to start thinking due to self-preservation. And that's what happens to all of us at a certain age. And then we get automated in this pattern of just running a program of self-preservation. It's everywhere. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And everyone's walking around, even the people who think they're great people, who think, oh, I donate to charity, or oh, I go to church, or whatever their thing is. Usually those people are the most self-interested. Or the people who are wearing a mask thinking, I'm doing this to save lives, to save grandma, whatever. Why weren't you doing that last year when the flu also kills tons of people? You're just doing it now really because of social shame, and you're afraid of social shame. And you're not actually standing up for doing what's really best in the system. Because when you really understand what the lockdown is doing and what the masks are doing, how that's influencing little kids are so wired to look at people's facial expressions. And right now we have a whole generation of kids growing up not being able to trust their neighbor, afraid of anybody. Now they're supposed to wear masks in school, and even in gym class. The other day I was talking to someone who said their kids are literally having to wear a mask running around a gym class. It's absurd. However, we are living in a world where we are anti-fragile as our real being, as our real self, the flesh here. That is anti-fragile. you can undergo a lot more than you're putting yourself through. The human body is way more capable than you were ever taught in school or you were ever pushed to figure out, because we have this system within us that's our ego, our mind, and it's running all these programs of self-preservation. I want to feel good, I don't want to feel bad, and it is this mess. Okay, now what do we do about this? This is a lot to look at. Well, for one, I suggest stop fearing stress. Stop fearing fear. Stop fearing putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. That thing that you know deep down you have to do, maybe it's make a phone call to somebody that you've been avoiding for a long time. Maybe it's have a tough conversation with your spouse. Maybe it's actually set up a workout plan that you're going to follow through on. That's the thing you got to do. However, just like I said at the beginning of this video, because it's an epidemic nowadays that people don't follow through on their commitments, if you don't actually have a plan in place with people to hold you accountable, you're fucked. You're going to make a decision to change. You're going to get all hyped up in the energy, but who you are and your real starting point, unless that changes, the other stuff's just going to fade away. So I'm making this video for those of you who actually can see this for yourself and you realize the world's fucked. I want to do something about it. My life is fucked. I want to do something about it. I'm tired of just living for the weekend or just living for the high of, oh, I made some money here or whatever. I'm going to challenge you to start actually living anti-fragility. What does that look like? Is putting yourself in situations that you know are going to trigger you, that you know are going to bring out the worst in you, that you know is going to stress you out and you're going to feel like shit. Why? Why would you willingly put yourself through that? Because when you have the right tools and the right people to hold you accountable, that's where you actually grow. You don't grow by, well, let me ask you this. Do you grow when you're just in your comfort zone? Do you grow? Does your body benefit and get stronger if you live in 72-degree air-conditioned weather 12 months out of the year, 11 months out of the year? Fuck no. Obviously, the human body is designed to move all the time. Well, not all the time, but way more than you're likely doing. It's designed to be in different types of climate, exposed to the elements. You ever see people that are so sheltered that they just grow weak? Especially nowadays, a ton of men, really feminine guys. And it's like they're afraid of conflict on any level. And you can just see it in the way they hold themselves. That's a huge problem. We have a massive generation of young men who have no sense of purpose, who watch porn, who play video games all day, and who see no real vision for their life. Whether you're a man, woman, whatever you identify as, that's a big fucking problem. That we have whole generations of men that are not having any sense of vision and purpose for their lives. How does that relate back to you? Whether you're the guy who doesn't have purpose, or the woman looking for a partner, or wondering why all the guys you date suck, is because very few people are actually taking on what's possible for their lives. What I would call your destiny. And your destiny is only going to be revealed to you through pushing yourself and through realizing, who am I? What are the situations that come together in my life that makes me me? And then I'm not just going to accept this. I'm going to actually stop all the bullshit. I'm going to work through it. I'm going to walk up a process to get to a point where I can now direct myself and then start putting myself in situations where I'm going to expand. And it's going to feel like shit. But guess what? When you start walking outside your fear is like your programming. It's like this bubble that you have put within yourself. And as soon as you start feeling the fear, you're like, it's like a dog going near the electric fence, and it starts to get either the vibration of the shock or it's like beeping. You go, too near the edge. Okay, just go back. Like, be a good boy. Just sit here. All right, I'm good. I'm in my safety zone. But we're all sitting in our safety zones. We're like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm not in pain right now. But we're on the fucking Titanic, and we're going straight towards an iceberg, and we're all gonna go down. So do you want to do something about it or not? Now, what do you need to do? Get connected with the right people who can hold you accountable to this, because it's fucking scary. And you go out and you keep facing your fears. There's something too about antifragility. If you expose too many shocks without enough recovery time, you're fucked. The system's still going to go down. That's why you can look at, let's say, Navy SEALs, or even for yourself, and you push yourself through an intense workout. By the end, you need to have recovery time. Because if you try and do that workout again the next day and then the next day, you're going to actually injure your body. You have to give your body, resources, food, rest, water, so it can rebuild itself. Because we live in a real physical reality. For all you who think, oh, it's just energy, having an experience of itself, like, stop bullshitting yourself. Where's the energy even come from? It comes from the physical. So you have this body that you have to take care of, but the body itself is anti-fragile, and that includes with your emotions. So if you're afraid of feeling these emotions, you're afraid of feeling the fear. One, the fear is never as bad as it ends up being. Now, you have to use common sense. I got to remember to explain this, because people's vocabulary with a word like fear is so charged that it requires some further explanation here. So, fear is unnecessary. Common sense is necessary. If you're afraid of walking in front of a moving car, that's common sense. Don't fucking do that. You're not that anti-fragile that you can handle being hit by a car. Maybe you are. I don't know. I'm not going to recommend you do that. However, fear is when you go into the mind and you separate yourself and you go into self-preservation mode at all costs. If you want to do something with your life and you want to change your life, you need to start walking through your fears systematically, one by one. And I promise you, if you're one of the people who's like, I want to feel bliss, I want to feel good, I want to feel as good as I possibly can, walk through your fears. You'll feel more bliss on the other end of that than you could have ever felt just sitting in your little bubble. For me, my biggest challenge over the past couple months that I've now worked through had been going door to door, talking to people about TechnoTutor, one of the businesses that I run. And I had to prove to myself that I could do this, because I'm building a sales team of door knockers and people who can go out and share TechnoTutor with families, especially families with kids that are struggling in school. But who would I be as a leader if I'm just sitting in the office saying, okay, you guys go out and door knock, I'm going to be here? Fuck that. Integrity is everything. Who would I be if I'm trying to tell someone to do something but I haven't done it myself? One, people are going to pick up on that, but two, that's not who I am. So I went out, faced my fears, knocked on doors, talked to strangers, had people slam the door in my face, have people say, I don't want what you have, I don't even care. I had a dad whose kid was right by the door. I could see in that kid's eyes, like, there was a struggle. There was emotion in that house. And I talked to the dad, and I even shared stories with him of how different ways that we can help his kid. Asked him some questions. By the end, he's like, yeah, no, not for us. And it's like, fuck. Like, if I were more effective, I could have talked to that dad, communicated in such a way that got him to see the benefit of, you know what, maybe there's some work that I could do to improve myself and my kid's life. But guess what? I would have never even realized that and challenged myself to be more effective at communication and selling if I had sat on my ass all day and not put myself in those situations to force myself to become more anti-fragile. But now, guess what? I have done it. I've gone through the motions. Now I know how to show up, talk to people, whether it's through door knocking, whether it's just talking to people, Facebook Messenger, getting on Zoom calls with people, building community, whatever it is. I trust myself. I make these videos and I don't have notes. I just come up with a title and then I just start talking. That's self-trust. That's anti-fragility. But that's been a process of me to build this. And now look at this now for yourself. What does anti-fragility look like for you? You have something called self-honesty, and you may have repressed it hardcore. You may have got really good at veiling yourself, like like covering yourself. So you're like, oh, I'm good. It's all good, right? That's called bullshitting yourself. So something that we have is self-honesty, and deep down, you know what you got to do. I don't know it for you because I'm not a mind reader. Nobody's a mind reader. Anyone who says that they're psychic or a mind reader is lying to you to try and get your money. But you're your own mind reader. And with the right tools and the right step-by-step process, you can start to unpack the stuff. Because if you want to make more money, if you want to have a happier family, if you want to experience more joy and bliss and whatever, you need to have self-honesty. It's not like a nice to have, it's a need. Because where the world is headed, this world right now that's dishonesty is everywhere, all of that is coming to an end. In the real group that's going to establish itself in higher and higher levels of responsibility to start changing the world system are the people who are walking with the principle of self-honesty. So really look at this for yourself. And I talked about this in the first live stream I did. Imagine that at the end of your life, you're looking back at your life and you can't bullshit yourself anymore. And you have to face all the shit that you did. All the times that you were mean to people, unnecessarily. All the times that you were spiteful. All the times that you could have pushed yourself but you didn't because you just wanted to sit down and watch TV. And you look at that and you judge yourself. And of course you have to use common sense. Like to think that if you grew up in an abusive home and if you're like, oh, well, by the time I was 14, I should have been able to stand up to my dad and all that. Like, no, use common sense. But don't be a victim in it. Just see it for what it is and now realize you still have parts of you. You still have principles, self-honesty, self-responsibility, self-awareness, self-forgiveness. And now you in the moment can take responsibility as the self-directive principle and begin to establish yourself in integrity and then walk forward. And I'm telling you, the best way to walk forward is as the anti-fragile being and body that you are. Because you will learn more from one conversation with a stranger or one day trying to do sales or communicating with people or doing a live stream or having that tough conversation with that spouse or your parent. That thing that you know you got to do, you will learn more from doing that than you will from reading any book, watching any video, listening to any podcast, because it's you real time going outside of your pre-programming, forcing yourself on the cutting edge of your life to do something new. And you get feedback, and it might suck, and you may feel like you want to throw up. I've had days where I'm like, oh, this is so shitty. I hope something happens and this appointment that I have cancels. Like it's such stupid thoughts. But that was literally how I was thinking. Because I was so nervous about going to talk with someone and work to influence them to see that their life and what they want for their kid is not actually getting like they were stuck, and I knew I had the solution to help them get through it, but I was terrified of going there because of tons of reasons: fear of rejection, fear of uncertainty, all sorts of stuff. But I fucking did it anyway. And the coolest thing is you end up walking into it and you just breathe. And I remember like walking up to this person's home, and my legs felt like they wanted to give out. My mind was just like resisting hard, but I was like, I already made the decision. I'm just gonna do it. So I just kept breathing, showed up. 1 or 2 minutes into the actual sitting down and talking with them, all of those emotions had gone. And I was just here. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And they were like, it went way better than I could have imagined. But guess what? Now, the real benefit of that is that now I know I can do 10 times more. And now if anyone comes to me and they try and give me an excuse like, I can't do that. Do you realize how scared I feel? Do you realize how much fear I feel? Whatever. Trying to feel special and how much emotion you feel. Stop doing that. You don't have to do that anymore. You can actually move forward once and for all. This isn't a motivational video or a motivational talk. That's how people try and scam you to get your money. Tony Robbins, all that stuff. I went to a Tony Robbins thing one time. We walked on fire. It was epic. I didn't know you could walk on fire. We laughed, we cried, we were yelling, confronting our demons, apparently. All that. I lost my voice. Monday morning after the event, I go back to work, and I'm still in the exact same position. What I thought was being underpaid, not being appreciated, just my whole bullshit victim story, right? Because motivation doesn't fucking work. You have to redefine motivation for yourself. But I'll get into that in other of these live streams because there's so much to unpack here with words. But for today, and every day forward, notice what you've done so far of times where you've noticed that you really grew. Start with that. Look at times in your past and think of what are 2 or 3 of the biggest times you've grown and been forced to level up in your life. One, if you haven't had those times, well, good, because now you're going to start having them. Obviously, it's on you to do it, but if you've watched and listened this much, it's clearly something I'm saying that's resonating with you. Now, for those of you who do know that there are times that have forced you to level up and grow, now look at how was the principle of anti-fragility working in that? Because I'm guessing you had to walk through some fears, or you had to face some unknown, some uncertainty, and throughout that process, you're still here, you're still breathing, right? Didn't kill you. So look at that for yourself so you can actually see in your own context of your life, hey, I've done this. And then it's a real reference point for you to know, okay, I've done this before. Cool, I can go a little bit bigger, and a little bit bigger, and a little bit bigger. That's how you change your life. Steps, small steps at a time. Now, let's look here and now, and then in the future. Here and now, what's that one thing you know you got to do? I know you probably have a knot in your stomach just thinking about it. You feel butterflies, it's like kind of uncomfortable. Okay, breathe. And keep breathing throughout the rest of this video and the rest of the day and the rest of your life. Breath will stabilize you. Breath will allow you to stop your mind. Somewhat. If your mind's real fucked up, you're going to need more. I mean, everyone's going to need the self-forgiveness process, but we'll get into that throughout these episodes. But now look ahead. So you have the thing you know you got to do, and now we'll end it on this. You have 2 options here. There's a future where you just keep going status quo. You don't really push yourself. Maybe you push yourself a little bit, but you're doing it straight up just so you could have enough money so you're okay. Maybe for your kids and your family. Okay? That's one way forward, where you don't really push yourself. Other way forward is you take this on. And not so much that you overwhelm yourself and you don't fucking move. Don't do that. That's stupid. But you take it on as a decision within yourself of, okay, let's test this thing out. How anti-fragile am I really? And you just make those decisions as who you are in every breath moving forward. Okay? Look at that now, 2 months from now. Where do each of those go? 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Who are you? One, it's definitely going to involve you facing more fear head on. But think about this. At a certain point, you'll hit a tipping point. And one of them, I won't tell you which one. You got to figure this one out for yourself. One of them is a pathway to guaranteed regret, sadness, fear, and death. Another one, it also has some fear. It also has some anxiety. You'll probably go through emotions. You might experience sadness at times. Yet, you take it on and you keep going. And even when it gets tough, you keep going. And you may fall on your face and it may hurt bad. Yet, who do you become? Which one are you proud of? Which one is best? So that's the real question. Who are you? And it's something that you can only answer for yourself. And if you don't have the right people around you and you don't have the right tools, you will not make it. Because the world system is so strong. Facebook, Netflix, Instagram, TikTok, your peers, the 5 people you spend the most time around, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. And if you're not where you want to be, you're going to have to change that. But the world is too strong right now and you're too weak right now. You cannot do this alone. It's impossible. So, for those of you who realize I can do a lot more with my life, and I want to, because I see how it's actually way more fun than the alternative, reach out. We have groups, free groups, for accountability, for coaching, for hanging out, for meeting friends, of people who are like-minded. Because you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. Choose wisely. Okay? So there's resources, there's tools, there's a ton of free stuff that can radically change your life. So now the decision is yours. What will you choose?